Hi, welcome to episode 4 of the Miss Goodyear podcast. Now, I know it has been a while, but I've gotten real caught up in the college application process and also spending time with my family over the holidays. And now that I'm over that hurdle, now I'm thinking about college itself, and I'm definitely in need of some advice. So I decided to invite New York Times bestselling author Harlan Cohen to give me some of that much needed advice. And I hope you enjoy our interview and learn just as much from him that I did. Enjoy. It's so nice
It's good to be here.
you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. Okay, so Harlan, right off the bat, I want to talk about your ADHD diagnosis because I myself was diagnosed with ADHD 2 years ago, and it's something that I think maybe you can relate to this. I was always just like, why am I this way? And when I was evaluated, I was a little scared, honestly, if I didn't have it, because I was like, then if I don't have it, then what's wrong? So I kind of want to hear, what was that like, learning about that, the diagnosis process?
Yeah, well, thanks for bringing that up. And you're so lucky because you're a senior, right? Senior in high school. So you were diagnosed as a sophomore, essentially, right?
Yeah.
So that's unbelievable. Like, what a wonderful gift to know your operating system. Because I kind of look at my brain as an operating system. It's just this, wet, fleshy thing that sits between my ears under my scalp. And it just operates a certain way. And some things we can change and some things we can't change. And the way it's built is really how we have to work with it to get the most out of it. So for me, though, I can say this, and I can say it very clearly because I've talked to so many people about their brains and just who they are. And your brain's also changing and evolving. But my brain, I always thought I had kind of a dumb brain. Like, I thought I was kind of stupid, even though I've had a lot of success from having a book hit the New York Times bestseller list. And I mention it because I always thought that I was too dumb to have a book on the New York Times bestseller list. Kind of makes me feel a little, it is a source of shame because I've had all these wonderful things happen, but I've always felt like I'm not enough. And I have a hard time reading. I write books, but I have a hard time reading. How about that, right?
Yeah.
It's wild. I listen to books now, and growing up, I couldn't listen to as many books. I love listening to books. It's a much better way for me to read. But I just thought I was not smart enough, not good enough. I thought everything I did that was amazing or people thought was impressive was really more of an anomaly. The bar was very low. And what happened is I just developed these other skills. I kind of think they're superpowers in a way. Because people with ADHD or dyslexia or some type of learning difference, what happens is you find ways to get through it. Right? Like, you probably found amazing ways as a middle schooler and in grammar school of like you have some superpowers, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's the gift of this. Like, people don't get that. And I, as an adult who decided, I just want to be sure because I've got kids now, and we want to make sure we can support them. And it's like, I should also get evaluated. And I was like totally ADHD. like there's no question. I kind of knew that, but like you said, it was actually reassuring. And some people are like, oh, I don't want my learning difference to be an excuse or something I use to kind of get by. And I'm like, no. Your learning difference or how your brain works is just a way to inform you so you can maximize what you have and also use your superpowers to do great things. So I don't think I'm dumb. I'm really smart. Like, I'm super smart. And I think I'm even smarter looking back because the fact that I was able to do so much and have to work probably 3 times as hard as other people, and I have to do things usually 2 or 3 times to get it right. Now I'm forgiving of myself. I'm like, oh, that's my ADHD brain.
Right. I love the way you put it, superpowers. I mean, one thing I realized with the pandemic and the mask mandate, I didn't realize how much I rely on reading lips because I only have a partial hearing loss in my left ear. So I thought, I don't do that. I really do. And I, even when I was little, I came up with like little lies about what my hearing aid was. I would tell people that it's like an FBI walkie-talkie system or something like that. So yeah, you do come up with creative ways to cope.
Yeah. And now you've got these skills where if you're in at a cocktail party, I don't know how many
Mm-hmm.
cocktail parties there are right now, like especially in college, it's not like they're cocktail parties. If you're at a party, if you're in a loud room, if you're in a place where you have even an instructor who has an accent, a lot of people struggle with this,
Mm-hmm.
the ability to lock in and read those lips, and
Mm-hmm.
the ability to also read lips from across the room. It's also great for dating
Yeah.
and relationships because right,
Yeah.
you could right hear what people are saying
Yeah.
without them even knowing. Do you think you're that good?
I wish. I wish. Honestly, that's another thing I want to talk about is how I have to ask people to repeat what they say a lot, right? Like there's a lot of ask that I have to make just to accommodate for my needs. And I was going to actually ask you what advice do you have, especially for people with disabilities who maybe their needs are considered outside of the norm? Like people might go, what? Or you get tired of saying like, can you repeat that? What'd you say? What?
Yeah.
So advocating for yourself, what advice do you have for that, especially
Well,
socially?
right. So you need to know you because you know you, and obviously you embrace who you are, and you understand that sometimes you need people to do a little more or do something a little differently than what they're typically used to doing because you need to hear what they're saying. You want to understand. I mean, it's actually respectful what you're doing. Like if you look at it, it's like I'd like you to repeat because I feel everything you're saying has value. And if you actually respect someone and what they're saying, then you asking someone to repeat themselves is actually something it's really honoring them. So it's like a different way of looking at it as opposed to inconveniencing them and bothering them. And then if they get frustrated with you, or if they're at a place and a time where they're rushed and they can't accommodate you and they look irritated, you could actually say it and own it. And you could say, I have hearing loss and sometimes it's hard for me to hear. So I'm sorry if I'm, inconveniencing you or if it's irritating, but what you're saying is so important and I want to make sure I understand it. All of a sudden it's like, wow, like snap, like, whoa, this is not about you being annoying. This is about a really strong person who knows who they are and isn't afraid to communicate that in a way where it's a source of strength. It's not a weakness. It's not like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't, it's like you're like, here, this is who I am. This is what's going on, and this is what I need. And if you want to respect what I'm saying, great. But if you're also someone who can explain, I'm in a hurry. They could explain the circumstances. They could say, oh, I also have a hearing loss, and I couldn't hear what you were saying. Oh my gosh, really? So it's like when you're vulnerable and open up and own who you are and use it as a source of strength, it becomes a great way to communicate. So speaking to that, I can kind of go a little deeper, and so I write about this in my book Win or Learn, which is my latest book, just about really taking risks and embracing who you are. And also in The Naked Roommate, I include this. There's a law of nature called the universal rejection truth. Okay. So the universal rejection truth could be on the periodic table of elements, could be the URT. And the universal rejection truth says, not everyone and everything is going to respond to you the way you always want. That is just a law of nature. Got that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Not everyone's going to understand you. Not all the teachers are going to teach the way you want. Not everyone's going to grade the way you want. Have you had any different friend groups over the years, Mary?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right. Right. All your friends aren't always going to respond the way you want. Social
Mhm.
media, people are going to misinterpret things. The world of dating and relationships. And I mentioned that because I wrote an advice column for like 20 years on dating. And on
Mhm.
my social media, people write to me a lot about dating. But the universal rejection truth is so powerful. And I hope that you and your listeners and your friends will embrace this truth because once you embrace this truth, the universal rejection truth of having any sort of learning difference or however it is we navigate the world, if that's something that's part of us, there are going to be people who don't understand us and don't respond the way we want.
Mhm.
And when we can embrace this truth instead of resenting people or blaming people or hating people or hiding from people, we can give people grace and we can give them information to help them to understand. And if they want to use that information in a way that's going to encourage a deeper connection and empathy and understanding, great. And if they're not, then that's their perspective. No one owes me anything, and I move on. So what this does is it gives you the ability to advocate for yourself, to listen, to communicate, and to live in a world that's often cruel and unkind. But if you have a deep understanding of this universal rejection truth and love the things about you that you can't change, just like I work every day to love the things about me I can't change, it enables me to be okay when people misunderstand me or make assumptions.
Right. I love the way you reframed that, thinking about asking others for help. I'm going to start using that line, because that's honestly the greatest struggle I've had, is advocating for myself. I, for many years, was very deeply embarrassed about my hearing aid, and I even just stopped wearing it outright for a couple years in middle school. So wow, I think I'm going to start using that line.
Well, people don't want to be different. And it's like,
right.
It's so boring to be like everyone else. It really is. You know, so much of being a teenager is you want to look like everyone and act like everyone so that people don't notice you. But then you want to be noticed, but you want to look and be the same, but you want to stand out. So it's like there's these two. I only want to stand out if it's a positive thing.
Right.
And I want to make sure that I'm comfortable and look and act like everyone else. But the thing that makes you so interesting and makes us all so interesting are those things, those little nuances, and when we're younger, it stands out and it becomes something so much bigger because we feel different and maybe othered. But as we progress through life, those things that seem very big become much smaller, and they aren't the thing that defines us. They're just one part of who we are.
Right. Yeah. They want to be different in an appetizing way, but
yeah. And then when they don't, it's very upsetting. So
right.
It's great that you have this. It's great that you have not, great in the sense of you have this awareness, and that you understand. And it's like a student goes to school and it's like, I'm not going to take meds because I'm embarrassed or uncomfortable with what I have to manage. And I'm like, no, like this is part of who you are, and it's okay. And it doesn't have to be the thing that defines you. It's just you acknowledging it and being okay, being who you are.
Right. Actually, my mom sent me your advice reel about hiding your meds, though, because she was like, listen to this. They don't want people taking your meds, right?
Oh, that's a good one. I'm going to do that one again. You know what? I forgot. I have so many videos now that like, and I forget the ones, like that is such a good one. Because
you would never think of it in the first place, right? Like, who would do that?
Hide your meds, especially in college. Yeah, because people want those stimulants, and they're hard to replace. Although right now, there's a medication shortage for a lot of students, so they don't have to hide them because they don't have them.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't know who puts your videos on my feed more, the For You page or my mom, because
that's funny. Is that on which social media platform?
I get it a lot on TikTok personally, and then my mom on Instagram Reels all the time.
That's cool. TikTok, it's funny because TikTok is not, I mean, like I have a ton of great relationships with people on TikTok, but they don't put stuff out as much as on Instagram. Like Instagram, I feel like, so it's nice to know that it's on your For You, because it was like TikTok was putting me on a lot more. And Instagram is like jumped. Like Instagram is just like, it's been crazy. So say hi to your mom. What's your mom's name?
Elaine.
Elaine, thank you for sharing this.
Of course.
And if Elaine, if you ever need me to make a video for do people call you Mary Caitlin?
Yes. Yeah.
No one calls you Mary.
No, it's okay.
Oh, I did that once. We could edit that out.
It's okay.
Mary Caitlin.
Yeah.
Oh, it's humiliating. Now here's the thing.
There's no hype.
This is a great example of making a mistake. So we don't know each other well.
Yeah.
And I work very hard to make sure that I do the right thing, but I made a mistake. Right? And you're very kind. And what I do is when I make a mistake, instead of getting too embarrassed, I go, you know what? I'm really sorry. I didn't recognize that, but your name is so important and I want to make sure that I get your name right. So I hope you can forgive me.
Oh,
But
you're
it's
so
like
good at
ownership.
this.
But it's like, why do I need to harp on it? Be like, oh, I'm so
Mhm.
embarrassed. This is so
Right.
awful. This is so terrible. So for your mom, what's your mom's name again?
Elaine.
Elaine, I was going to say that, but I didn't want to make a mistake. So I already
Right.
made one mistake. And if I make too many mistakes, then it's
Three
just too,
strikes are
it's
out.
ridiculous. Right. But Elaine, if Mary Caitlin has anything going on and you secretly want me to share something, because a parent isn't always heard, uh, because it's a whole different game. But so if there's videos that really relate to you, it might be your mom secretly feeding me information that I'm going to help with. Okay.
Great.
What do you need help with? What's going on? What's the thing that's weighing heavily on you right now, Mary Caitlin?
Oh,
Because I know you're a senior and
yeah.
every day could be a lot of drama.
That's such a good question. Thank you. I was actually about to say, I feel like this advice you're giving is so especially resonant for girls, young girls being overly apologetic. I mean, every day, since I go to an all-girls school, it's like,
Yeah.
it's a empowering atmosphere because there's no boys to hog the airtime in the classroom, right? Talking. So we have to be the ones talking.
Yeah.
But there still is that over-apologeticness, like, this might be really dumb, or I don't know, like, might be a stupid question. And it's constantly just putting yourself down. I think, honestly, the college application process has been a degrading process. Like, I'm sorry, it really is.
Degrading.
Yeah.
That's a fascinating way to frame it. Why degrading?
Because it's just like, it's like exposure therapy to rejection, which is good in a way, right? But you put a lot of time and work into it, and maybe you get some yeses, some nos, some maybes. It feels like a coin toss, but it takes a lot of time just to put your name in the hat, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Are you have you gotten any responses yet?
Yes, yeah, I did about 10 schools early. So I do have some acceptances, some deferrals, one
Excited?
deny. Yes,
Good.
I am excited. It's just so hard to envision where I'm going to be. I have no clue. So it's like preparing for the next 4 years. I don't know how to yet. So
yeah,
it's scary.
Well, you and everyone else. So I do this thing called Best First Year. It's a coaching, it's a college coaching and life coaching. It's college success and life coaching. So it's Best First Year. And I do these weekly group coaching sessions every other week in the spring. And the reason I do this is because exactly what you said, like, it's really hard to know what it's going to be like. And the process is so messed up because there's so much emphasis on getting in.
Right.
But what people don't think about is what it's going to be like when I'm there. And that's the transition piece. So there's search, looking for the school, and that can be humiliating if you don't like rejection or aren't willing to get rejected. But Mary Caitlin, you are engaging in a process where the majority of people get rejected. So it's actually normal to get rejected, and it's great practice because other than the ADHD, being great at rejection is I think an unbelievable skill. It's a gift because your life is going to be filled with rejection. But rejection is really just part of learning. And that's why I wrote Win or Learn. And when you look at college and big unknowns that are deeply emotional, the fear of not getting what you want can be really anxiety provoking. But the underlying the thing that can make you feel okay is knowing you're going to be okay no matter what.
Right.
You're going to be okay no matter what. No matter where I go, I'm going to be okay. Do you believe that?
I half believe it. I think I'm like
Okay,
75% there.
Okay, well, if you're 75% believe it, that's better than 50 or 49.
Yeah.
But you're going to be okay no matter what. And even if you're miserable, you're going to be okay. Like you're going to be okay. You're going to have a miserable experience that's going to help you to learn and understand. You're going to stay at a school for maybe a year, right?
Right.
I like to look at it as it's a big experiment. I'm going to see what it's like. And if I like it, I'm going to stay here.
Yeah.
And if I don't like it, I'll go somewhere else. Like,
Right.
why do you have to commit to going there for the entire, for like, it doesn't make any sense. You're the one who's in control of this. You have all the power. You don't even need to go right away. So your life's still going to be great. You're really smart. You put together a podcast. You reach out to me. You advocate. Like you know, you're going to be okay no matter what. A school is going to be lucky to get you. And if you choose them, they're going to be grateful because you're somebody who changes the world. So why should you feel anything but empowered? And when you look at school, it's like, where am I going to go where I could put myself around people, where I can have experiences and get access to places, where I can do the things that I love to do and shine my light around other people who shine their light and be around people who are going to tell me the truth, who have life experience that excite me. Like
Hmm.
then it's like, okay, wow, now this is changing, right?
Yeah.
What's important to me. Sometimes it's what you're going to do outside the classroom. Sometimes it's academics. Sometimes it's finances. I'm a huge
Hmm.
believer that there are very few schools that are worth the money that they charge if money's an issue for people.
Yeah. I feel like I'm starting to believe that maybe prestigious just means expensive. In some
Well,
cases, it
well,
feels that
here's the
way.
it you know what? It's kind of like there are different types of cars,
Hmm.
and there are lots of cars that are going to get you to different places, and it's
Hmm.
really where you go in the car and what you do and when you what and the school is kind of like the car,
Hmm.
but it's what you do. And just driving around in it isn't going to make your life great. It's just
Right.
costs more money and there are maybe some more luxuries. But students who go to lots of schools that aren't as uh, shiny
Hmm.
and aren't as much of a brand, those students, when they go there and they work very hard and end up at the top of their class, they can go anywhere,
Right.
any grad school they want to go to. And they're also recruited and they have these life experiences. And a lot of prestigious schools, should make sure you know this,
Hmm.
that first year, you're like, what am I going to do? Well, if being active, if being part of the community, if being a volunteer is important to you, then
Hmm.
I would look and see at the schools that are most interesting to me, where are the places, the specific places I'm going to put myself, clubs, activities, organizations. Places are where you sweat, play, pray, live, learn, lead, love, work. I'll repeat that because it's a mouthful.
Hmm.
Where you're going to sweat, play, pray, live, learn, lead, love, work. So you identify specific places where you're going to anchor yourself, where you're going to show up. And even before you arrive, they're going to go, Mary Caitlin, welcome. We're so excited to have you here. Now, at a lot of highly selective schools, or like they like to say, people like to say highly rejective schools, which is if you're only allowing, 5% in or giving admissions of 5% or 7%, 90% of the amazing people aren't getting in. But what happens is you get a lot of people who are exceptional, and then you have the clubs, activities, and organizations. And many of these are so competitive, you have to apply or you have to be invited to join.
Hmm.
And you're a first year student, and you're like, I'm at this amazing place and I'm so excited. And then you try to get involved in the things that attracted you to that school, and they say, oh, I'm sorry, you didn't get in. This is why
Hmm.
people who depend on Greek life, fraternities, sororities, competitive business clubs, I'm like, listen, that's great. That's great. But if you're a first year student and you're in a new place surrounded by new people having these new experiences, where are you going to put yourself? And that's where you can envision. Like, that's where, when I go deeper into the weeds, when I'm coaching students, it's let's bring up the website, look at the different orgs. Do you have any idea of like where your places are going to be? And forget a
Hmm.
particular campus, but let's just say any campus.
Hmm.
Where do you plan on meeting people and doing things that excite you?
Yeah, I've always loved theater, so definitely any like I'm not going to be a theater major, so any like performances, an a cappella group or something like a chorus group, I definitely want to be a part of. I don't know if Greek life's for me. I guess it really depends on
Mhm.
the school and like how big of a deal it is.
Right?
But definitely those activities, and I'm also Latina, so like I hope like those like affinity centers like will be a place for me as well, you know.
Yeah. So like multicultural center,
Mhm.
that those groups tend to be inviting and welcoming.
Mhm.
You tend to have access to those. The performing arts, very difficult if you're a
Yeah.
first year student. There might be a first year a cappella group. There could be some type of performing arts area on campus. If you're a major, then that'll be part of what you do. But for those groups, if you don't get in, then being part of stage crew, being part of the
Yeah.
marketing department, being accessible. Oh, that reminded me. I have to do that video. That's another video I'm
Mhm.
gonna do today. It's
Mhm.
hold on. So whenever I talk, it's like whenever I say something that excites me, I like to make sure I remember because if let's say you don't get into the a cappella group
Right.
and you're doing the marketing or you're
Mhm.
bringing the amp and somebody gets sick or no shows and you could sing a tune, it's like Pitch Perfect. You know that
Yeah.
movie?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Ben Affleck, right?
No,
What's
I do
not Ben Affleck. Ben, not Ben. It's Ben.
I know who you're talking about.
No, I
I
know,
don't
I
have it
know.
either.
Oh, come on. It's
I have his face
it,
in my mind.
it was in
Pratt.
hold on. I
Pratt?
can't. Yeah, Ben Platt.
Platt.
Of
Yes, the
course.
guy on Broadway.
It's Ben Platt,
Yeah.
right?
Dear Evan
And it was
Hansen.
in Dear Evan
Right.
Hansen.
Yeah. I saw
And
him in Dear Evan Hansen.
yeah, I
Yeah.
did
How
too.
could I forget?
Did you like him in Dear Evan Hansen?
Yeah. The movie are you talking about or on Broadway?
On Broadway.
Yeah. Oh, obviously amazing on Broadway. I just felt like the movie, I didn't believe it. I was like, you're not 16.
Yeah.
Sorry. It works on the
Interesting.
stage.
Yeah. Well,
Not
it
up
was
close.
crazy because I was in New York with my wife and we love Ben Platt.
Mm-hmm.
And of course I said his name wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You should feel good because I like I try so hard. I try so hard, Mary Caitlin. Even on your podcast, because I have it up, it says Miss Goodyear with Mary Caitlin. It's so obvious what your name. Like that's the thing where I thought I was dumb, but it's like honestly, even scanning a page, it's like, what am I looking at? Where are my eyes scanning? What am I absorbing? It's like that's all part of my brain. It's not. It's just like owning it. But anyway,
Yeah.
you want to hear this quick story with Ben Platt?
Oh, of course.
Okay, so my wife went to we went to New York and I was like desperate to get the evening show with Ben Platt and we could only get the other person who could my dog is barking. Oliver. We could only get the other person. It was I forget who it was. It's like I don't even know his name, but he was so good. So we went and it wasn't Ben Platt, it was the other person. It was like the first other Dear Evan Hansen. And he was so good. And I enjoyed it. And we didn't see Ben Platt. We actually here's what happened. So we left there and we walked out of the theater and I said to my wife, I'm like, wait, is that Ben Platt? So Ben walked by the theater because he was going to, I guess, to the evening show. Right. So we followed Ben Platt. So we followed him and we followed him down like one of these streets. And I was kind of annoying. I'm like, hey, can we get my picture? My son loves your recording, loves the recording. He's like, oh yeah, sure, okay. You know, he's very shy and he's okay. And then then we were all excited. Then I saw Ben Platt walking back because he was and when we took the picture, someone took the picture. He was with somebody, and he was with this guy. We didn't know who he was. It ends up he's the one who created all the music, and he was like the biggest. He was the producer who was the camera guy. And then when Ben came back, I said, hey, I want to just apologize because I know you probably wanted your own space and. Yeah, I just feel I didn't mean to be invasive. And he's like, no problem. And he was very nice. But then, okay, so that's that part. Then what happened is we didn't get to see, we did see Ben Platt, but we didn't get to see him perform. My wife loves Ben Platt. Then I had a speaking event the next week. And this was like a week before he went off Broadway. And there was a ticket for the Broadway one. So I drove an hour after my event because it was a weird thing, and I saw Ben Platt by myself.
Oh.
And my wife didn't see Ben. But here's the analysis. At that point, we had been so fixated on Ben Platt and just how talented he is that it was hard for me to separate Ben Platt from the character because he was so great. And I had just seen Dear Evan Hansen with the other performer. So it ended up, it was a great experience, but it kind of made it was hard for me because he was so good. He's just so good. So anyway, that's the story. I hope you enjoyed it.
I did. No, yeah, I love theater. Personally, it's great being in the city and liking theater.
It's great. Yeah. So for you also, if you love theater, making sure you go to a campus where you have access to theater, going to the school productions, getting to know the people who are there. And even if I don't Greek life, whatever, take it or leave it. Yeah. But one of the things that some of the organizations will have is a outlet to perform.
Right.
So, there might be other aspects of being part of an organization where when I was at Indiana University, we did this thing called IU Sing, and I was one of the song leaders, and got to be very involved with that, which was really wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
But this goes back to you having a very clear vision of where you will spend your time
Mm-hmm.
and how you will build connection, which is shared experience over time on a campus, and not have to be dependent on people to invite you or include you. And that is like what so many people struggle with.
Yeah.
And if you're not comfortable with the rejection part of the application process, then I hope this stuff will help you to reframe the start to college and how you'll work through that. Because a lot of times people's expectations and reality don't align. And when expectations and reality don't align, that's a problem. But when you can shift your expectations and the timeline and understand how to get where you want to go, it reduces a lot of the anxiety and makes it an easier experience for you and for your family.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, to me, it seems like freshman year is kind of like sleepaway camp, but like maybe like it's like the first week of the session when everyone's trying to get to know each other like rapidly, you know, but then eventually you get to like session 2 and then like all the cliques are formed. So I guess that's like another, for me, when I think about college, I'm kind of like, wait, so you're telling me I spent 18 years forming this community at home, and then it's like, just get up and leave it and start a whole new one. It's like, it's a very daunting idea. But
it really is. And I think the fact that you're thinking about it and acknowledging that this is daunting really gives you a lot of power in the process, because then it's like, I can acknowledge what makes me uncomfortable. And then I can put together a plan. And over the summer, as students continue on, it's having a transition plan. A transition plan that includes the places where you're going to do the things you love to do, people who are kind, the kindest people, not even the coolest people. You just want to find the kindest people. That's another huge thing that people don't recognize. And then you want to make sure you give yourself time to be uncomfortable. Another tip. Do you want one more tip about this?
Of course.
I got a time. Give it. You know, I got hundreds of tips.
Yeah.
I got thousands. How many videos are there? Thousands. Is prepare to be lonely. Like, people don't get this. Prepare to be lonely, because when you can prepare to be lonely, and being lonely doesn't mean you are feeling sad, and it doesn't mean that you're depressed. It's like, how can I be in a place where I don't know people and be okay? Because if I'm prepared to be lonely, then when I'm lonely, what does that mean I'm going to do? I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go to some spiritual center. I'm going to go for a walk on campus or go for a run. I'm going to go to the rec center. I'm going to do something that's going to create some light in my life. And I'm going to do it in a place where I could be around other people. I'm going to play my instrument. I'm going to go to the music school and go into a practice room, even if you're not part of it. I was at University of Arizona the other day, just walking around campus, and there was a music school, and there were all these little practice rooms, and there are all those music students. But you don't have to necessarily, you could just probably walk around. If it's open, go. But it's like, what are you going to do that isn't dependent on other people and other things, so that you can be okay during a time where the transition, the normal natural transition, is I'm not always going to be around people who I know or connect with. So if you plan for that, then if it pops up, it's not like, oh, this place sucks. I'm so lonely. It's like, oh, what would I do if I was lonely? I do this. Those are students who thrive. It's lonely. First 3 to 6, like first 3 months of the school, you need that runway. It takes a while. So anyway, hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah, no, it is. It's actually very interesting. In school, I just took a sociology class, and we read a book they did a study on how many hours on average does it take to form an acquaintance, a good friend, a close friend. And they said it takes like 300 hours to form like a good friendship, for someone to say good or best friend.
300 hours.
Yeah.
So if class is an hour and a half, and you have class twice a week. That's 3 hours a week, and it's 16 weeks times. So 3 times 16 is like 48. So
Not
is that
enough.
right? No,
Not enough hours.
3 times 16. 16 is it's not 38.
I actually
Remember I told you
skipped
sometimes
calc
I feel
class for this, so I can't tell
this is this is
you.
this is very easy. 3 times 16
48.
is 48. Right, it's not
My dad told
38.
me.
Oh, yeah, your dad's like this guy. See, the thing about me is I could say something really wonderful and really powerful, and then the next minute struggle with 3 times 16. I
Yeah.
know it's 48. Anyway, I'm just doing the math of like
Right.
friendship, like 48 hours to form a friendship over the
Mm-hmm.
course of a semester, and you need 300. So if you take that and multiply, let's just say let's just call it 50 for the sake of math and call it 6 semesters with
Mm-hmm.
someone. So 6 semesters would be your junior year.
Yeah.
So if you think about relationships that people form. It's a really interesting way of doing it because in college you're
Mm-hmm.
maybe twice a week. In high school, you're with people probably, an hour once a day, for 7 days. So
Yeah.
maybe it's 7 hours a week
Mm-hmm.
and it's every week. So it's like maybe, 30 some weeks of if it's 30 weeks of school or 40 weeks, it's 280
Yeah.
hours. So it's really 1 year to form that friendship.
Right. Yeah. And you know what's actually super interesting about it is they said that people were more likely to form the closer friendships when they were not forced proximity, like when they were
Yeah.
choosing to be together. So that's a whole
Right.
nother aspect of
Yeah,
like,
it's kind of like cleaning up, your stuff at home.
yeah.
When someone asks you to do it, you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Right. If you have that information, that study, send me that,
Oh,
please.
yeah.
I'd
It's
love to.
actually from a book called Social. It's by I don't know. He's a doctor at UCLA. He's a professor. Really interesting book. Really good.
Oh, cool. I'll check that out.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah. Yeah. Really cool stuff. But something that I thought of earlier. Oh, yeah. About like relying on other people. I think that's a large part in why I made this podcast was because I didn't want to have to rely on other resources like, getting the invitation or whatever to define my own success, just to like create this platform to do the
Yeah.
thing I want to do. Because my brother actually is an actor. And so watching him audition, he sends out tens and tens of auditions, like 100 really, and he could not book a single role, or he could have a lucky streak where he books a bunch of roles within a couple months.
Right.
So it's really just try. So I've carried that mentality and like honestly learning from, he's my little brother, he's only 13, but just watching that experience, I've been keeping that in mind with college, just to know like it is a game of luck a lot of the time, and you can't rely on those. There's so many factors out of your control. Don't let it define you.
Yeah, it is. It is a game, and people sometimes don't like when I say it's a game, but it really is a game. And when you gamify something, you depersonalize it. It becomes easier.
Mm-hmm.
Just like with your brother, the audition game, it's most likely you're not going to get it. And if someone's looking for the thing that you happen to be that day, then that's great.
Yeah.
But it's very hard, and that's why also even auditioning, like I am such a fan of what do you have that you own that no one needs to give you. Like this idea of a role, of giving yourself a role, like because of social media, because of the power of what you're doing, you created a role. I'm
Right.
going to create a podcast, and I'm going to be the host and the producer, I imagine. And I don't know if you go and post it, and
Yeah.
if you edit it, and right, I'm going to do this, and I'm giving myself a role. And can anyone fire you?
No, exactly.
No. Right. It's like that's the beauty.
Yeah.
Like my job, I created it.
Exactly.
As a journalist, I have a role. I could walk into any situation and I have a place because I'm an observer and a reporter. And when you're an observer and a reporter, you have a clear role, and it puts you in places where you can be social without having to be wanted or needed. Because if you are reporting, you have a purpose, and no one is required to give you anything in return, which creates a whole different dynamic because you don't need anything or want anything other than just being present and sharing what you observe.
Right.
So giving yourself a role is key. And in your brother, as he pursues his art, you know, I am such a huge fan of social media, and
Yeah.
I think it can also be dangerous, and there's
yeah.
lots of things that are negative about it.
Right.
But if you are someone who is passionate about communicating something that lights you up and inspires you, the idea that you can reach potentially over 1 billion people,
Right.
and is crazy. It's wild. Like, even since we started this, I posted something really fast. It's been a really crazy day. It's been busy, but I posted this. I posted a video on social media before we started, and on Instagram, it's got 7,000 views. Like, just in, let's see, sometimes it could be even more. And then it's got about 1,000 on TikTok. It's about studying, but it's like, here's the thing. I have another one yesterday that has like 100,000 views on Instagram. If anyone's interested, it's at Harlan Cohen, Harlan Cohen. But I've got a video, like another one that's 109. I shot this in the grocery store. Like, I just had to shoot this video to respond. Another 137,000. And the point is, I'm sharing something that I think will be helpful. And if someone has something they want to share and they want to give themselves a role, we live in a day and time where you can reach an enormous amount of people, more than even like cable news.
Yeah.
More than it's unreal. And the impact is so powerful. And plus, you're able to meet people and form meaningful connections without having to. The other side is, when you do stuff and you put it out there, like on social media, there's more people can reject me than ever before.
True.
So if you're not comfortable with rejection and you put something out there,
right,
then you really need to think twice. But if you are comfortable, then you have this amazing ability to reach so many people.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think making this podcast has also been another exposure to like rejection for me, because I was very nervous for a long time before, when I've had this idea for a long time. It's always been something I want to talk about, and just choosing the format, just how to do this, all the prepping. Yeah. And then when it came time to post, I was like, what if no one cares? What if this just falls on like empty, or like, I knew my friends and family would support me, but I was like, is anyone else? And I actually did receive a DM from this girl who's just a 16-year-old girl. She actually also lives in New York City. And she was like, thank you for making this podcast. I actually, after listening to this, I had the courage to move from my table, because she also has a hearing loss, right? This is what she tells me. And she's like, I sat in the back of the class with my friends, and I decided to move to a table at the front of the class with people I didn't know, because I just decided I need to be able to hear the teacher. It can't keep being like this. And the fact that what I was saying empowered her to do that, that is like exactly what I wanted. And I just almost didn't believe it, like that. I forgot that social media has that power.
Yeah, it's pretty magical when you can share something and it reaches someone, and you get used to these responses. Because the more you do and the more you put it out there, the more you're going to help. And I just think it's so powerful and so amazing when you love serving and helping. And I think it's really a blessing and a gift that you can do that. And you're gonna get lots of different feedback from people. Some people are gonna love what you're doing and some will not. And the thing that I would say, and you're always welcome to reach out to me, and I'll encourage you and help you to reframe things. I mean, I think it's nice that we're able to talk. I'm happy that you reached out. I am a firm believer that anyone is capable of achieving greatness in so many different ways. So I'm happy I can meet you at this point in your journey to be someone who could be in your corner to help. And it sounds like your dad's in your corner, your mom's in your corner. You got a lot of people. But here's the piece to sustain you is, when you are feeling like an imposter or wondering, why would someone want to listen to me? What do I know? You're an expert. You've lived your life every day dealing with the challenges by being hard of hearing
Mm-hmm.
and figuring out how to turn it into a positive. And you are serving. And this is the key. This is what I do. When I get nervous, when I'm like, oh, all these people are watching me, all these people are listening to me, I remind myself this is not about me. This is not about look at me and notice me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that there might have been a time in my professional life where I needed people to look at me and notice me because I didn't think I was smart enough or good enough. But I
Mm-hmm.
really don't care as much. You know, it really, I look at this as an honor and a gift that I get to serve, and it's service above self. It's
Mm-hmm.
service above self. I was talking to my wife who does a lot on social media, and she's a speech pathologist, speech and language
Cool.
pathologist, and really wonderful, and it's really about service. And it was just this reminder of it's about helping people. When I
Mm-hmm.
did an event the other day, I was in St. Petersburg doing an event for a community college.
Mm-hmm.
And I get nervous before every event. And I told my story of the day as if it happened. And I focused on service above self.
Mm-hmm.
It's service above self. So when people critique you, what can you learn and take from it? If they call you a name and try to put you down, it's not about you.
Right.
Someone calls me with big ears or pig face or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. It's like, that's not about me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you say I'm a balding older guy. Why?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people are very kind to me now, but on YouTube, I'm starting to do a lot more on YouTube. And
Yeah.
YouTube, I'm going through the phase right now where teenagers are being mean.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, this is the part
Can
where,
I ask, is it on YouTube Shorts that you get most of the mean comments?
you know, it's both. It's like,
Okay. Yeah.
it's more shorts though,
Yeah.
but like YouTube is mean
Yeah.
and people are going to say mean things.
My brother is a 13-year-old boy on YouTube Shorts. He stays quiet. He's not a bully, but he shows me sometimes those comments. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
it's a very different community than TikTok or Instagram.
right. It's a bunch of kids who are uncomfortable being mean and
Yeah.
whatever. So I'm in that phase there. But
Yeah.
now what happened is first people were judgmental and wondering like, who is this guy? And I've been doing this forever.
Right.
And then I started to help people. And then a crazy thing happened. People in my community started to defend me against haters and mean comments.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody said something cruel or unkind,
Mm-hmm.
I don't even have to respond because all these other people will be like, you know, you leave them alone, you have no idea, and this and that. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
whoa, like that was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But the service above self, it is the thing that motivates me more than anything. And I think you know clearly you're uh, very similar in that sense. And I would just say as you continue on your path, service above self and give yourself roles where you can serve
Mm-hmm.
and be around people who also like to serve, who are kind, and you will form incredible connections.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. One thing about your content, by the way, that you reminded me of when you're talking about YouTube Shorts. So when my mom, she used to always send me the reels on Instagram, and I'm gonna be honest, I kind of ignored them. I was like, oh, okay, whatever, mom, like sending me the advice videos, whatever. And then honestly, once it was that TikTok that started putting it on my For You page, and then I was choosing to watch it, I was like, oh wait, like this is actually some like pretty useful stuff. Because honestly, I was talking to my parents and I was like, what about the little things? I was like, when do I get changed? Because I don't want to bring my clothes to the bathroom, and that's weird, right? But I also don't know this person who I'm sharing a room with, right? And I was like talking about all these like little niche stresses I had, and I feel like sometimes your videos would just come on and like address a niche stress I had, or like something I never even thought of. And then that's how I honestly started to like enjoy your content. When it was my mom like sending it to me, I was like, oh, whatever. And honestly, I was telling a friend of mine how I was doing this today, and she was like, wait, the guy with glasses who's always close to the camera on TikTok and talking? I was like, yes. And she was she sends her regards. She was actually very excited.
What's her name?
Hadley.
Thanks, Hadley.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? I didn't realize, I love that I'm referred to as a guy who's close to the camera with glasses. Because you know what? I didn't even think I was close to the camera. And here's what happens instinctually with me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, damn. Like, am I too close to the camera?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a problem? Because like ingrained in me
it's
is this
distinct
fear.
though.
What's that?
I'm like, it's distinct. I'm like, oh, this is like your style. Like,
Yeah, but it's like, right. I'm
like
glad it's
come in,
good.
lean in, talk.
Yeah, well, I try
Yeah.
to, like sometimes I'm more in, sometimes I'm not. But
Right.
there's always people have different ways of perceiving it. And if I wasn't comfortable, I might be like, well, maybe I need to lean back more. But I guarantee when I record more videos, Hadley, where I am and how close I am, I'm going to be thinking about it. 'Cause I'm going to be like, I wonder if Hadley's going to think this is, now Hadley's going to see me back here. And
We're
it's going
getting
to be
new
a whole,
angles unlocked.
right. It'll be a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes I do the up and the,
Yeah.
oh, that's great. Well,
Yeah.
I'm really happy that it's helpful. And, my goal is just to be a voice and a reminder that, everybody has these amazing gifts, and teenagers love to tear each other down.
Yeah.
And it's cruel. And social media is this constant drip of making people feel like less so other people could feel like more. And if you aren't equipped with the universal rejection truth, like if you don't know this truth, you think I'm the problem or someone else is the problem. But the problem is that people just don't always say things we want to say, and people will just make assumptions or just say dumb things because they're so uncomfortable and insecure with who they are. So we don't need to own all their problems.
Yeah.
Unkind people are annoying. They're interesting. They're annoying and interesting. It's like, why are you bothering me? Clearly there's something going on with you. And if it's something with me, it's like, oh, my zipper's not zipped. Oh, thank you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Or I have food in my mouth. That's why you're looking at me that way. Oh, it's like being curious is such a wonderful way to deal with uncomfortable situations. If something's making you uncomfortable, instead of making assumptions, be curious.
Yeah, definitely. And that just extends to empathy and understanding, which is a big thing I try to promote. Our kind of catchphrase is be aware, be kind. And this, when I'm saying this, I'm talking about hearing loss and being aware of invisible disabilities and those sorts of things, but it really applies to everything in life. And I think it's something we say often, but we don't really absorb the meaning of how like everyone has their own story, everyone's their own unique individual. Like I said, we say it a lot, but living that and acting with that in mind is something that I feel like a lot of people, even myself, no one's perfect. We don't follow our own advice, but it's important to live by that.
I think it's like to get to know someone who has a unique challenge, especially to become friends with them, to understand what it's like to live your life and not be able to process the world the way I process it.
Right.
Makes me fascinated. How those skills, those ways that you work through this so that a fifth grader, a sixth grader, a seventh grader, it's like, those are really, they really need someone to tell them, hey, what you have is really interesting. And it gives you a little bit of a superpower, makes you really different. And if somebody is not interested in learning about you or figuring out the best ways to communicate or wants to know how you communicate, then that's someone who you don't need to spend a lot of time and energy on.
Right.
Because the world's big. And the kind people rise to the top. They'll be in your life if you put yourself in places where you have access to them. And sometimes your class isn't going to be the place. There are going to be those people everywhere. There was another question I'm just reminded of. This has been helpful because I got a bunch of videos that I need to do. There was like this parent wrote about like there's a mean girl in the sorority. And it's like a sorority can have, I don't know, 50, 100, 200 people, maybe 30. It varies. But like in any group situation, is everyone going to be pleasant? No. There's always icky, disgusting, annoying, horrible human beings that you're going to have to encounter. And why you think they're horrible and disgusting and all that, someone else might think they're wonderful and great and terrific. And that's the beauty of living in a place with so many people and different ways to process the world. But it's like, if you're lucky, if you are in a group, if you're in a performing arts group, maybe you'll be really close friends with a quarter of those people if you're lucky, right? maybe half of them are gonna be people you kind of, you like being around. 3/4 you could tolerate,
Yeah.
right? A quarter you can't stand,
Yeah.
right? Anything, right?
Yeah.
Like that's just the world we live in.
Yeah.
So when we have a quarter we can't stand and the quarter or some of them are annoying, we think, okay, can I change them or do I need to get away from them?
Yeah.
And if I can't change them, then I just need to avoid them. And if they interact with me, I could just not fuel the fire and just tell them, I'm not looking for a fight.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. And
Yeah.
you move on. You're boring. You become boring. Because if you're boring, the mean people aren't going to find you fun because you're boring. They want someone who's going to cry and get upset and have a reaction.
Right.
That's what makes being a mean person fun.
Yeah.
But when you just are like bored, like mean people are boring.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to tell them that, but like, don't engage with them. They're just boring.
Right.
Don't you like that? I like that mean people are boring.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't you like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
it's also great because it takes away all their power.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because it's like, wait, I'm boring, but I'm mean.
Yeah.
And then it's like, you think this is boring? Then they insult you more, and it's like, well, I mean, the insults are interesting. It's just getting upset is boring
Mm-hmm.
because I know why you're insulting me because you're trying to evoke a reaction.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, actually, that reminds me of my dad's favorite expression. Every actor needs a stage and every clown needs an audience. So if you don't give it to them.
Yeah, they move on. You're
Yeah.
a big bore.
Yeah.
Abusive partners. I mean, people who like to control. It's like these people they're sad.
Yeah.
They're sad and they're boring and we don't need to play.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. One last thing I just want to bring up. Christmas gift my mom got me.
Yay.
Your book. I just want to, I brought it. So my dad was like, please make sure. I've definitely been flipping through it. Like I said, sometimes when it's like given to you by your mom, you're like, but I really like the format of it. It answers a lot of those questions that you're kind of too afraid maybe to ask your parents. So
yeah. Thank you for whoever bought you the book, and I'm grateful you have it.
Mm-hmm.
There are more tips that need to be included. You can always let me know. Mm-hmm. I'm really curious because I love getting information. I love helping people to manage the uncomfortable. If you were to talk to a 6th grader who learns that they are hard of hearing, or someone who's losing their hearing, or someone who's deaf and is really struggling with just being who they are, what would you tell you?
I love that question. First, I want to answer this maybe just from the perspective of the people in that person's life, because I usually get this question in the inverse of like, what should I do? And my number one thing I always say is patience. Patience. Just understanding, hey, we have different abilities. We have different capacities. So if I need to repeat something, please just be patient. And honestly, I would say to the little 6th grader me, it's something hard to hear that I would not want to hear in 6th grade. I would also say patience to her, because, and then patience and just also being the bigger person. Like we said, you said how mean people are just boring. Understanding that like, hey, the world, honestly, I feel like I'm repeating your advice now, UTR, right? Like, people are gonna suck and not understand you, but you just have to loud and clear say, hey, this is who I am. And that's not an easy message at all. I feel like if I said that to 6th grade me, she wouldn't absorb it. She wouldn't feel it. But I've just had to live my life and learn it. And I'm hoping through this podcast that I could lead by example, by sharing the stories, by personalizing this experience to really help, the 6th grade me or anyone else.
Yeah. What's the most challenging part for you being hard of hearing?
Yeah, honestly, the fact that it's an invisible disability, the fact that even I don't realize how tired I get. there's actually a lot of recent studies being done on hearing fatigue. There's really a lack of research into it about how having a hearing loss affects you socially, because it really, really does. And with hearing fatigue, it's basically just the concept that your brain, you're working double time to hear things and attentively listen. And that just makes overall socializing a lot more exhausting.
Yeah.
And that's a part of myself that took a really long time to understand how, like, if I'm in a lecture, I have to zoom in. And with the ADHD, it doesn't help. I always joke, like, did I actually not hear that? Or is it just my inattentiveness? Like, sometimes I don't know. So you really have to zero in. And then let's say your friend's trying to talk to you. It just, you have to put yourself first and put yourself first, your needs, and understand, hey, maybe I have to back out of this social situation because I'm really tired and I can't hear the teacher or whatever. So yeah, understanding those differences, which is something that unfortunately even scientists have not been researching enough. So it's like, you almost feel gaslit in a way. Like, oh, I feel this way, but why do I feel this way? And honestly, like, a lot of these studies I was reading only came out like 2021, and then in Denmark, and then they started doing it in the US. Like, US scientists started to pick up on this. So like, it's very interesting, and I hope to learn more about it so I can understand myself better. You know, I feel like reading about that could help me understand myself and the way I function. So yeah, understanding how I function. It's empowering.
I think that's not only important for you, but for anyone and for all of us, and even adults who are, and adults with quotes, because I think adults are just always learning, and there isn't any mastery. It's more of like, I've reached a certain level and now I can examine that and grow and be curious.
Right.
Knowing ourselves is it's a lifelong journey. So I think it's wonderful that you're doing this, obviously, and I'm really grateful that I could be a part of your journey, and appreciate you reaching out.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be really great to continue to have dialogue with you as you go through this process, because I'm interested, and I know a lot of people would really benefit. So, and anyone's welcome to follow me on TikTok. It's Help Me Harlan. On Instagram, it's Harlan Cohen. My website's harlancohen.com. And the Best First Year College Success and Life Coaching program, I'm really putting a ton of energy into that, showing up every week in the fall, doing special programs over the summer. So I really encourage anyone who's benefited from this, or just your friends or anyone who's interested, to check that out. I also do one-on-one coaching as well, and just trying to help any way I can. All right, well, good. Well, thanks. Excited for you, and have a great end of the year. And just keep me posted on your journey. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. It was good to visit with you. All right.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.